Hi everybody, welcome back to Lookouts. I hope you all had a safe and happy Pride Month, and I'm wishing y'all well. Now then, let's get back to the story. It wasn't the red morning sun, now risen just above the horizon, that had woken you. Nor was it the gentle slumbering breath of Joseph against your neck, doing its best to lull you back to sleep. What woke you wasn't even the familiar crick at the base of your tail from sleeping on the bedroll, a stiffness you couldn't wait to stretch out. It was your thoughts. All the thoughts in your mind, like so many wild horses running, of what may come next. What you both had to do. The nights spent on a lookout were better than the sleepless nights back at camp, but you still dreaded the dawn that came after. At least you had Joseph this time. At least you had him for what was to come, you hoped. You could feel one big wing of his, wrapped around your stomach, shifting as he started to wake too now. As much as you wanted to keep lying here with him for just a few more minutes, you knew you had to get up. Coffee wouldn't brew itself. You peeled back the blanket as little as you could to let yourself escape, gingerly untucking Joseph's fingers from your side. Sliding off the bedroll and through the dirt, you let Joseph's arm down gently. Crouching low on your knees, you gave his hand a gentle squeeze, feeling the soft, dry, dusty feathers beneath your fingertips. Holding this moment in your head, that it might stay there. You stood up, dusting yourself off everywhere you could. Time to get ready. Even with Joseph here, your morning routine was mostly the same. Just doubled, you supposed. Feed and water the horses, both of them. Make a pot of coffee, double the amounts though. Let it brew for a little longer too, on the same fire as you'd used last night, together. You kept thinking while the coffee boiled. There were many things you didn't have time to think about yet. Even so, unimportant thoughts still rose. An unimportant thought that kept bubbling up was how nice it was to not have the usual knot in your stomach. The tightness that twisted every time at camp when you had to get food or a drink, to use the same tools in the same space as the others. Speaking of drinks, it was nice not to have to worry right now, you thought, about sharing this. Joseph wouldn't complain about having to get coffee from the same pot as you. He wouldn't get angry that you were handling his stuff. Could it have always been this easy? Your stomach rumbling snapped you from your thoughts. Of course, you'd forgotten breakfast. You went back to your bag and unwrapped some salted pork, holding it between your teeth and tearing a chunk off. You always liked how chewy it was when you weren't in a rush. The rhythm of your jaw grinding it up helped you think. Possibilities were rolling around in your mind, dice cast along the branches of a tree, how things might play out. Although you couldn't just keep it to yourself, now. For better or worse, this was about the two of you. There was both weight and comfort in that thought. As you watched the pot start to bubble and steam, you heard the sound of sleepy shuffling, turning to see a waking Joseph. He was propped up on one elbow, blearily trying to figure out what was in front of him, rubbing his eyes with one winged hand. You saw his pupils contract to the morning sun that was getting brighter and brighter, focusing on you. Good morning, partner. Is that the sweet smell of coffee I smell brewing? Not sure I'd so call it sweet. You looked into the pot at the dark, brown, tar-like substance, regretting the large snoutful you got of its acrid, bitter scent. Well, the idea's sweet, to me at least. Stuff's damn near magic as far as I'm concerned. With surprising energy for someone who had just woken up, Joseph whipped the blanket off of him, standing and dusting himself off. You watched still as he stretched. His fingers locked together, wings pushed and pulled, in front and behind. The way the feathers of his neck parted and ruffled as he rolled his head around his shoulders. The hem of his shirt, usually tucked in but now loose after a night's sleep, rising ever so slightly as he twisted his body. He sighed as he finished, wings on his hips, and met eyes with you. "What are you looking at?" "Nothing." "Uh-huh." A shy smirk crept across his face as he tucked his shirt back in and walked over to you. "What you eating?" "Salt pork. There's some in my bag if you want." "I think I will, thank you kindly." "Can you get some cups too? This coffee looks about done." You looked behind you at Joseph, crouched as he dug into your bag, giving you a quick thumbs up. You turned to the pot again and stirred it with a spoon a little. Joseph came back round and sat beside you, setting 2 tin cups on the ground with one hand. His beak tore at the piece of jerky in his other hand, hungrily swallowing it down after a few chews. He picked up the pot and poured you both a hot cup, eagerly tapping his cup with yours before drinking. "Cheers!" You both sipped quietly. You could feel the heat of the coffee traveling all the way down your gullet, burning in your belly. "How'd you sleep?" Good. Like a pup. Didn't wake once." "Me too. Slept better than even that hotel I stayed in one time. I swear the sheets on that bed were the softest darn thing I've ever touched." "Sounds nice." "It was. Last night was nicer, mind you." Another silence between you now. Likely you were both thinking the same thing. Thinking about last night. What you talked about. Silence. Because if neither of you spoke, maybe nothing would happen. Maybe the world would stop turning, and the sun would stop rising. Of course, it still does. You can see it, charting its course away from one horizon to the next. So, what's our plan?" Joseph shuffled a little, legs restless. "We'll kill Curly Wolf and Black Vulture. That's what we said, right?" You nodded. "Maybe we don't have to. We could just run away." "We talked about that, Joseph. If we run, we'll spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders. We'll never really be safe." "Yeah, you're right." "Besides, have you never thought about it?" "Of course I have. It's not that simple, though. Everyone around him is loyal. It'd be hard to even get the chance. Even if I killed him, I wouldn't get away with my life. And even when I thought about it, thought about that ideal world where he's got a bullet in his brain and I'm home free. There's nothing after, Robin. I could never see what would happen in the rest of my life. It was blank. Just a desert." "If you were to kill him now, what do you see?" Joseph looked ahead, thinking. The feathers on his face fluttered in the wind. "Something, I suppose. Not nothing, at least. I think maybe I can trust that." "Are we really going to be able to kill them, though?" "I don't know. They bleed and die like anyone else. It's just hard to get a chance. At some point, our gangs are going to go to Clemency and take us with them, whether we like it or not. I think we should try to use that to our advantage. Unfamiliar place, for them at least." "What about everyone in town? They shouldn't have to be involved with this."
"They're already involved. We can't change that. I just wonder if any one of them would help us. I doubt it."
"Do you think..." You looked at Joseph, and he turned to look at you too, his brow furrowed. "Sheriff?" You felt a cold dread wash over you, even in the heat of the morning sun.
"No, I don't think Sheriff wants anything to do with us. We'd be dead before we even crossed the town line, remember?"
I know. It just... there was something about it. How Sheriff was when we were told to leave. I don't know if I fully believed it.
Sorry, Joseph. I think that's just wishful thinking."
"Hey, you listen to me now. I ain't making it up." His voice was suddenly sterner, the timidness that had been in his voice now gone. "I'm telling you, Sheriff..." I don't think Sheriff wanted to tell us to leave. There was something far too sad about it. You saw it too, right? I'm not imagining it? You thought back. It had hurt too much to dwell on it. Now that you thought about it, you had to agree. It wasn't like other times, when you'd been exiled or barred from places. There was anger, but there was also frustration. Disappointment. That wasn't normal. You might be right. Even so, I don't think we can go waltzing back into Clemency and expect Sheriff to welcome us with open arms. We still don't even have a plan. I think we need to talk to Sheriff. Even if we don't have a plan, Sheriff needs to know what's coming. Yeah, you're right. I just don't know how. We'd need to get to Sheriff without being seen, ideally. I don't want to risk getting shot, however unlikely. Without being seen... You set your coffee down, getting up and walking to the edge of the cliff. You didn't need binoculars to see the shape of the town from up here, how the land moved and shallowed down towards the buildings. You looked along the cliff, in the opposite direction to where you'd gone yesterday. Hey Joseph, I think if we ride our horses this way, we could maybe get to the town from the back. Sheriff's office is at the back of the town there. If we surrender ourselves, we might get to talk to Sheriff. Joseph got up from where he was and walked over to you, looking along the cliff where you were pointing, sipping his coffee. Yeah, that could work. What, not a fan of the idea? Oh no, we can do that. This coffee is just mighty vile. He held the cup over the edge and tipped it upside down, the brown sludge falling into the sand below. Let's get going. We don't have much time before both of us will be needing to head back to our gangs. Yeah, of course. You took one last look along the cliff face, and started helping Joseph clear up the camp, making haste to get on your horses. You rode as quick as you could down the cliff face, taking a long route around the back of the town. Climbing off your horses, you tied them up out of sight behind a rocky outcropping. You started your cautious walk to the edge of the town together, cautious about being spotted. Sheriff's office was right in front of you, the squat building backing up onto this side of the desert. 2 square windows were cut into this face of the building, holes in the frame from where bars once were. As you got closer, you listened out for anything that might tell you where Sheriff was. The rhythmic tapping of wood carried on the wind to you from the front porch. Carefully, you and Joseph sidled up to the building. Sticking close to the side, you shuffled along the stone wall, cold in the shade. At the edge, you slowly peeked your head out, squinting through the morning sun. Sheriff was sitting on the porch outside, looking out into the town, cane tapping idly on the wooden boards. You hadn't been noticed yet. You pulled your head back and nodded to Joseph, him nodding back in turn, and the narrator taking a drink of water. Not gonna get that in an audiobook. Anyway. You both drew your guns, backs to the wall, and called out. Sheriff? You hear the panicked shuffling of someone getting out of their chair, and the cocking of a gun. Who goes there? It's us, Sheriff. Joseph and Robin. We mean you no harm. As you heard Sheriff's footsteps coming towards you around the corner, you both put your hands up, guns hanging limply by the fingertips. You stepped back from the building and out of the shade as Sheriff came to face you, a gun loosely pointed in your direction. What am I looking at here? Why are you back? Are you surrendering? Yeah, kinda. Sheriff, we need to talk. For real this time. Oh yeah? And I'm supposed to believe any collywobble you say now, am I? No, we know we betrayed your trust. We lied to you about why we were here, but we didn't lie about the danger to the town. We're asking you for a chance to explain ourselves. Sheriff's brow was furrowed. You could see that even under the tough and scaled skin. A few moments of silence passed between you. Sheriff holstered the gun slowly and calmly, the click of it uncocking letting you breathe freely again.
Come to the office then if we have things to discuss.
You gave each other a look of relief as Sheriff turned to walk back. You put your guns away as well and followed the lizard around. The office was darker inside than yesterday, the morning sun not quite shining in the same way. The sheriff stood with both hands on the cane, face curious and stern, still untrusting.
So, boys, what do we need to talk about?
You looked at Joseph, and he met your eyes. They were darting about in the small way they do, even when you're focusing on a point. He gave you a little wink. That was all you needed.
Yesterday, when we told you about those outlaws heading here, that wasn't a lie. Or, I guess it was a white lie. Our gangs know about this place, and they're gonna be coming here, gold or not. So you were scouting our town out. Makes sense. Still, I don't see what's stopping you from lying about this town. You both know we can't do much to defend ourselves from a whole gang. So frankly, if I'm picking up what you're putting down, and you don't want to hurt us, then just lie to them. Tell them we're armed to the teeth. Scare them off. They won't be stupid enough to still try.
I guess we could, but
what? Look, I appreciate you trying to come clean and help somehow, but this ain't our business, you see.
It's not one gang, it's two. I'm from the Curly Wolf gang, and I'm from Black Vultures.
You're from two different gangs? Well, I'll be damned. You seem so friendly with each other.
The thing is, Sheriff, we don't want to work for him anymore. Curly Wolf and Black Vulture. We want to kill him. We need each other's help to do that. We can't do it alone, you see? Your heart was beating fast in your chest. Saying it out loud, saying it to Sheriff, changed things. Before you could convince yourself otherwise, you took Joseph's hand in yours, squeezing it tight as you stood next to him.
Yeah. Besides, there's no guarantee we'd be able to convince them not to come here, even if we did lie to them. We need your help too, Sheriff.
Sheriff's face remained stern, or maybe concerned, you thought. Eyebrows flat across the eyes, thinking.
You boys are sure about this? This is what you have to do?
Yes. Yeah. Joseph's hand moved, ensuring the grip of his fingers interlocked with yours.
Getting a little old for things like this, but alright. I can't in good conscience endanger the people in this town, but I think I might be able to help.
Sheriff got up and started pacing.
So your two gangs, they're both gonna come here?
Yeah, I know Curly Wolf will for sure. Black Vulture is bored, I can tell. He's itching to do something.
Any history between them? Any scuffles? Would they fight or make a truce if they meet?
Black Vulture has said before he'd fight Curly Wolf, but I don't know if Curly even knows he exists.
Curly Wolf wouldn't work with another gang unless he had to. I don't think he'd give up this place so easily. Seems to me like them meeting up would be beneficial to your goals, don't you agree? A fight between them would be chaotic, but maybe that's what we need.
Someone might even finish them off for us.
It would be dangerous for us though, too.
Well now, hold on. When do the lookouts get caught in the scuffle? Almost never, unless we start it. If anything, we should be the safest ones of the bunch.
You're right. If you can delay their arrivals, then I might have a solution for you. Clemency gets supplies, monthly. They arrive by train about a day and a half's ride from here. That's where the nearest station is. Since it's a whole town's supplies and the trip is long, everyone in Clemency goes in a wagon together. Easiest and safest for all of us. As luck would have it, that's in 3 days.
So the town will be completely empty?
Not a soul, I can guarantee that. We ride early in the morning and ain't back till the next day. You get your gangs here on that day and do what you need to do. Best I can come up with on short notice.
That could work. Not like we have any other plan and anything could happen, but it's better than nothing. Things were happening so fast. Sheriff really wanted to help. This was incredible. Was this really happening? Was this something you could do?
3 days, right? We need to both be here in 3 days. Yep. You think you can do that?
I think we can. Joseph looked at you, both of you holding each other's hand tighter. We have to.
Good, good. And thank you for trusting me with this. You took a real gamble coming back here. No, thank you, Sheriff. Really and truly. I hope to see you again when this is over. God willing, you'll make good on that promise.
For sure. I think we both need to get going now. We'll be expected back today.
Yeah, we need to start riding soon. Godspeed then, both of you. Keep yourselves safe.
You felt sick to your stomach and light on your feet. You nodded at Sheriff and left, still holding Joseph's hand. Back with your horses, you made last-minute checks of your bags, ensuring everything was secure for the long trip back. 3 days from now. 3 days from now you'd be back. Both of you. Some part of you dreaded needing to start this journey, lingering on the feeling of standing here, not moving. So much had changed since you got here. Now, you might be risking it all. It doesn't feel fair. The idea of losing something you only just found, only just got the chance for. You shoved it down, though. The ride back was long. You didn't need that kind of worry gnawing at your heart. Pity for you that every time you saw his face, even a glance as you checked your saddle, it all came rising to the top once more. Like a drowning man pushed under the waves, reaching the surface again as he refuses to sink. I think I'm all ready.
Me too.
Joseph stood by your side now, waiting for you to turn and look at him. You contemplated just getting in the saddle, not lingering for longer than you had to. You felt the light touch of his hand on your shoulder. Twisting, pressing your face now over his shoulder, arms clinging round his side, you were holding him before you could think. Joseph said nothing. He did nothing, too, for a moment, until you felt the weight of his arms on your back tightly clinging to you. Your hand took a great fistful of his clothes between your fingers where they lay, and as you held him tighter, he squeezed you even more. You wouldn't care right now if he squeezed you hard enough to break a rib. Feathers on his neck tickled your face and poked your closed eye. You could feel the way his back bent as he leaned ever so slightly over you. You don't know how long the hug lasted, but eventually you let go. You could feel imprints on your skin from where the hardiness of... Let me try that again. You could feel imprints on your skin from where the hardness of his clothes, his buttons, his belt had dug into you. Still, you didn't mind. He held you still, facing each other, holding each other's arms, looking at each other. Joseph's eyes flicked around your face and to the top of your head, holding his gaze there for a moment before leaning in. You felt the gentle prod of his beak on your scalp, the sharp edges tugging at your fur. He preened through a few more times, pulling gently and spitting the loose hairs to the side. Done. He pulled back, his face a little sheepish. There, that's better. You need to look your best when you go back.
Thought your mama said it was impolite to use your beak,
Well, she's not here. Besides, I think you fit the, criteria.
Thank you.
Your cheeks were hot and flush with what felt like all the blood in your body. You were sure you could see the same under his feathers. I'll see you in 3 days, you hear?
Yeah.
We'll kill those bastards.
Yeah.
You nodded. His hands trailed your arms as he walked away to his horse. You got up into your saddle too, the reins familiar in your hand. Joseph trotted his horse round up alongside you, facing the opposite way. Well, partner, time to go.
Wait, Joseph, just promise me. If something goes wrong, you'll run. Promise? Killing them isn't worth it if you die too.
If you run, I'll run. They ain't worth the effort of dying. You smiled at him with the same type of smile as when you left home. Weak and worn, but relieved all the same. Goodbye, Robin.
See you soon, Joseph.
You both started your horses moving, gently trotting until you were no longer beside each other. You heard Joseph give a "Caw!" and his horse set off at speed, kicking up dust into the air when you looked behind you. You set your own horse into a gallop, the rush of the wind in your ears as you rode through and out of Clemency. Back to your gang. Back to the man you were plotting to kill. The midday sun hung harsh and bright in the sky as you made it back to the camp, you and your horse both tired from the ride. The current hideout of Curly Wolf & Co. was a ramshackle affair, nestled in the depths of rolling hills, hidden from the sight of any passerby. Riding slowly in, you climbed off your horse onto the sun-baked ground, and led it over to tie it up with the others. The smell of food wafted, but you could see people cleaning up already. You'd missed lunch. As you made to leave the horse, a sudden thought struck you, and you doubled back to scramble about in your bag. Where was it? You hadn't left it behind, surely. The trickle of panic that had started to leak into your chest thankfully stopped as your fingers felt the soft brush of what you were looking for. You pulled the feather Joseph gave you out of your bag, holding it closely to yourself. You let out a short gasp of a sigh.
Oi! Tomboy!
Your ears pricked up and you stood up straight at the sound of Curly Wolf shouting at you. You hastily tucked the feather away in your pocket. You turned and made your way over to Curly, eyes down at the ground, avoiding the looks of the others.
You know how things work around here, don't you, Tomboy?
Yes. Curly grabbed a handful of your poncho, pulling you forward, stumbling, before roughly shoving you off your feet onto your back. You'd learned how to take a fall by now. You didn't scramble, you just let yourself lay in the dirt for a moment, waiting.
Get up.
You pressed your hand to the ground and got up. Not too fast, not too slow. The others still got a laugh out of this routine, but you were too bored of it to be embarrassed anymore.
If you know how things work, then I shouldn't have to punish you for not doing what you're told. When you come back, you come straight to me with what you found. You don't stand around playing with your little horsey.
Yes, boss.
Right. Come on then, spit it out.
I found the town. A place called Clemency. It's got some gold from mines, but no bank or anything like that. What would you say now? If Curly knew Sheriff was the only person there who even resembles a lawman, he'd just go barging right in. This lie was crucial. He couldn't catch you out.
Place looked armed to the teeth, even so. All the townsfolk had some way of defending themselves, no gun laws like other places. Well, shit. Was hoping it'd be a breeze. We need an easy win right now.
I found out from the sheriff that the place is gonna be empty soon. You were focused on a hill in the distance, not daring to look directly at him. Still, on the edge of your vision you could see Curly's eyes narrowed, staring at your face, studying it.
How come?
Overheard that they retrieve supplies for the town ever so often, and the next caravan drive is in 3 days. Whole town is gonna be gone. It'll be empty and unguarded. The suspicion in Curly's eyes melted into a smugness, and a grin split his face from ear to ear.
Hot damn! Now that is an easy win.
He turned his face away from you, shouting into the air of the camp.
Boys, 3 days from now we're gonna be rich!
He walked away around the camp, kept talking, hyping it up, riling everyone up for what was to come. You didn't need to listen anymore. Your job was done for now. You went back to being invisible, staying out of the way, the usual. That night, the hills were full of the sound of howling, cheering, drunken songs as the Curlywolf gang prematurely celebrated their victory. This was a bigger deal than you had maybe anticipated. In any case, your goal was the same, and they didn't know what was coming. Curlywolf didn't know what was coming. He was the cockiest you'd ever seen him. The days after were a blur. If you weren't needed to help with some menial work somewhere in camp, you were just sleeping in your tent, trying to avoid the blazing heat, keeping out of everyone's way like you always did. Waiting, just like everyone else, for the day you'd ride out. On the night before you were due to leave, you snuck out of your tent, out to where no one would see you. Away from the camp, the sounds of it echoing lightly through the air, you clambered halfway down a hill and sat. You didn't do this often. Who knew when someone might come into your tent, needing to drag you away for something? You couldn't risk it often, being unfindable, but you thought it important enough to do tonight. To come out here and breathe in the cool night air, to stare into the sky, across the horizon with the blanket of stars in the sky. Trying to pinpoint constellations you were told about when you were much younger. You wondered if Joseph knew any. You didn't think about it at the time. The feather was in your pocket still, the safest place you could think to keep it. At night, when the lights were out and the tent was filled with the sound of someone snoring, you'd hold it in your hand, flicking through it with the claw of your thumb, feeling the smoothness against your fingers, just for a bit, before you put it back. It helped you get to sleep. Again, now, while you were alone and sitting under the stars, you pulled it out of your pocket, fiddling with it in your hand, feeling it tickle the pads of your palm. Your mind wanted to wander, to think about important things, to think about all the ways tomorrow could go wrong, to think about what might happen to you both. You didn't let it. The feather helped, too. For once, you just let yourself be calm. You'll see him tomorrow. Until then, worrying would do you no good. You imagined that was the kind of thing he'd say to you, if he were here, sitting next to you. The imagined weight of his head on your shoulder. The thought of his warmth sidled up next to you. All the things you wouldn't feel again if you lost him. You'll see him tomorrow. And I'll see you all next time for more lookouts. Thanks for watching.